Hey everyone, welcome back to Real Words. I'm Rayanne Thorn Krueger, producer and host of this fairly new podcast. We've only been going for a couple of weeks. I'm very happy to welcome our guest, Zack Helminiak. Hey, Zack, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Did I say your name correctly?
Yep, Zack Helminiak, you got it.
Perfect, perfect. Zach is part 10 of the 10-part series that I've been doing for Beachtown Books. They are sponsoring an author pop up event this weekend in San Clemente. So I'm happy to wrap up this series. My Beachtown series is what I'm calling it. And I would love, Zach, for you to tell us a little bit about yourself and your book.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Zach. Most people who know me would know me as co-founder and CEO of a company called Nomadix. Nomadix is an outdoor consumer products company. We make towels, blankets, ponchos, robes, and everything's made out of certified post-consumer recycled plastic and is climate neutral. And we give 1% of our sales to um, environmental causes. So that's my work. That's what I'm currently in the office doing that. But I have two small children, 3 years old and 7 months. And so my real full-time job and why I'm so tired is that I'm dad. Um, and so I was inspired to write a book spontaneously on a trip that we took. But my purpose for writing the book truly was to give my kids an example of um, doing a project that you want to do, a creative project, and taking it all the way. There's no reason that you can't take it all the way and actually publish a book and make a beautiful physical thing. So, yeah, I just wanted to um, sort of like teach that lesson to my kids, and they won't get it yet, but they'll get it one day. Um, and the main character of the book is based off is named Luca, which is my son's name, and it's based off a trip that we took together.
Wow, what a great way to start and be inspired. Is this your first book?
This is my first book, the first of a couple for sure, because I need to write one for my daughter now.
Yes, you do.
Otherwise, it'll be out of balance. But I really enjoyed it, and it's got my wheels spinning for doing other types of books. So I hope to do more in the future.
So you're my first author that has written and I'm air quoting here, a board book. Tell us the
Mhm.
difference between a board book and just a regular children's book.
Well, my son has always been obsessed with books. We could sit there and read 20 books in a row. And when you're that little, obviously it's upsetting if you accidentally tear a page. So there's a very good utility for having a board book that a child can be kind of rough with, but still like love and take with them and carry with them. And it's their book. You don't have to babysit the process at all. So I've really enjoyed reading board books, and I made it a smaller form factor so that a small kid could put it on their lap and read it. I didn't want it to be like a really big one,
Okay.
which we have those and we love those too. But the ones that were that size, he would always like pick them up off the shelf, bring them to the couch with him, and I think it's just great for a young kid to have a board book.
And how has the review been at home to the book? Are you getting a review from Luca?
We actually made it sort of collaboratively. So what was unique about self-publishing a book is I got to serve as creative director. So I wrote the book, but then I also made all the spreads just with sketches, and then I worked with an illustrator, Christina Dan, who brought them to life. And so every time I would get a new spread, I would read the book up to that point with Luca and be like, "What do you see on the page?" And if if it wasn't an interesting page, we might add a blue bird or we might, add something to it.
Right.
So he was a participant for sure.
And what is the name of your first board book?
The name is Truffle Cat, and it's about a city cat whose best friend is a truffle pig, and this cat wants to learn how to hunt truffles, and so this cat named Luca does everything that he can to learn about truffles, to practice smelling things until he eventually gets his big moment and is put on the stage to go find truffles.
Well, that must have been quite a family vacation that you went on to inspire truffle hunting.
Yeah, my wife is German, and we go to Europe once a year to visit her family in Berlin, and so sometimes we'll do a side trip to just sort of mix it up a little bit. So we went to Istria in Croatia, which is a truffle hunting region. They also have great wine and beaches, and it's sort of like just a beautiful place. But um, we were we were walking around on these farms, and we were staying in a rural area, and there's these cats that were kind of like just on top of every structure. And Luca was obsessed with the cats, and so we just kind of spitballed an idea for a book. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna write that book. And our next stop was in Ljubljana, Slovenia, and one morning I got up at 6 a.m. because I couldn't stop thinking of Truffle Cat, and I went to a coffee shop, wrote the whole thing in like 45 minutes, incredibly caffeinated, and Googled how to find an editor and sent it to an editor that morning.
That's
So it
amazing.
was spontaneous is the word for it.
I love that. A lot of people say that they are accidental authors, that it fell into their lap or in front of them, as the case may be. Are there plans to publish or distribute in German?
I'm frankly quite novice in the publishing world, so like for instance, I've gotten a lot of bookshops that say that they can't buy it unless it's distributed by a main one of the big
Oh, yeah.
distribution houses. And so I'm deciding whether or not for the second book to do what I did this time, which was just a pure craft, and I did it front to back. I produced the book and um, bought copies and sold them all myself and stuff like that, or to go through a distributor. So if there's any authors listening and they wanted to like network and give me a little
Yes.
bit of advice, I'm very open to that.
Yeah, that's great. I find it interesting. Individuals that I've spoken with for this series have either self published or gone to one of the big five. I've heard four and five, so I'm assuming there's five. And what, right, why is it so difficult, you think, to get in with that big five?
Well, I'm coming at this from a novice perspective, but as I
Right.
understand it, in order to get accepted by one of the big five, you could either do their on-demand publishing platforms, so like Kindle Publishing, KDP.
Sure.
But then if you want to do a board book, you can't print a board book through those avenues. And then also, like, I really cared about the quality of the paper and the quality of the size and the look and feel. I wanted a hardcover board book, and I wanted it to be matte finish and stuff like that. And so um, those weren't options. And then on top of that, if you want to do the larger distribution houses, as I understand it, you have to have something like a minimum of like $50,000 in sales. Um, and so there might be a publisher listening, and they're like, "That's not true," and I would love if they would tell me if that's not true, so I could work with one of them. But yeah, I think it just feels like there's a lot of hurdles, and I did a lot of research, and obviously I do have some experience with business, and I haven't been able to get it distributed. So
Okay.
um, I think it's just
So,
it's
s-
difficult, you know.
yeah, and small bookstores like Beachtown Books, regional bookstores are a great option for you, and they're happy to have you. I mean, they're celebrating you with this event this weekend. So I look forward to meeting you there and talking a bit more about this. You've named yourself a spontaneous or titled yourself as a spontaneous writer. Some have said accidental. I think I'm going to start using spontaneous. I like that better. It feels like there actually is purpose to this effort as opposed to feeling like I just fell into it. I didn't really wasn't really planning. So I like the spontaneous option, especially given the work that you do, how the real change differences between the work that you do and where you are supporting your family, the work that you do support your family now, but who knows? Truffle Cat could take off and you could end up with a cartoon series. Who knows? It could be
Who
fun.
knows? It
It would
might be
be a lot
more
of
fun
fun.
if it doesn't take off, um, but we'll see what happens.
That's an interesting comment. We will explore that when I see you in person. Do you have any advice for other spontaneous writers or individuals that have been longing to be a writer?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think that for one, I think that writing is a craft that is super important. You know, I write all day things that are not books, and how you write is very important to how the world sees you and how you relate to even family members, but business people and things like that. So, if you have a book in your head, I would recommend writing it, whether or not you intend to finish it, whether or not you intend to publish anything, because I think it's just a healthy intellectual exercise. And you might find that you at least get it out of your head, right? And you know what it is and what it will become. Um, and you might find that you don't like writing and you don't want to write books. You might also find that you love it and the book is something that very different from what you originally thought. The page just kind of takes you in a direction. So I think my advice would be to grab a platform like Evernote or Notion or some sort of note taking app and just on your phone, just start writing and see what happens. That's step one.
I love that idea. As somebody who's been an avid writer for far too long, I have utilized the note section on the note app on my phone for a decade now, and used to carry a notepad with me everywhere. But now I figured if I can write on a laptop, I can write in my phone, and to sprinkle ideas throughout it and be able to recall them and go back and remember those things and draw on them many times over and over again.
Hmm.
One of the really interesting parts of these interviews that I'm doing is asking about risk for future creators or for the future of creativity because of the onset and onslaught of artificial intelligence. And I would love to get your thoughts on that topic. Do you fear or feel that creativity is at risk as AI becomes more prevalent in almost everything that we do?
Well, yeah, I think my take on it would be that it's absolutely at risk. There's nothing you can do about it because of the speed of adoption.
Indeed.
Um, and you have to decide what kind of creator you want to be. Um, so, for instance, like if I wanted to write this book, I could easily have gone on ChatGPT and given it a premise and said, "Hey, make this more colorful language or whatever," um, and would have spit out a book in 10 minutes, and probably no one would have known. But for me, the exercise to do that felt like cheating my kids, right? Because this is
Yeah.
really about my kids. Um, so I just chose to not involve ChatGPT whatsoever with this part of my life. Um, but I do use ChatGPT for other things, even brainstorming, finding lists, aggregating data, things like that. So I think that I would probably liken AI to like using some other creative tools like Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop. You know, those were probably perceived as like by an illustrator to go on Adobe Illustrator and be able to duplicate patterns super quickly and things like that would be perceived as cheating or unethical or something like that. But um, I think it's unavoidable. So, I mean, I would say writing is is a sketchy one for sure, and it will be used for writing
Yes.
books without a doubt, and scripts for movies and songs and everything. It will be, probably is right now.
Right.
Um, but I think probably the best mentality to have is to use use it yourself, even if you don't want to use it in your craft. So you understand it, you know the purpose of it. You might even get a job because you're really good at using AI the way that
Right,
you do.
right,
I think that probably you're going to have to look at a future where we are completely married to AI, whether we like it or not.
right. So interesting. As you were talking, I remembered how I dreaded having to dig out the thesaurus before you could just, right click on a Word doc and find synonyms for a word. And so it's similar to that. It is utilizing other forms of input, correct? So have you been satisfied with the output that you've received from ChatGPT and other alike technologies for your business? Or do you feel like you have to go back and rewrite and reassemble?
Yeah, it never spits out a final product that I'm happy with, but what it does is allows me to quickly iterate something. So as an example, I'm a I'm a world traveler by my nature. So is my wife. We've both lived and worked in more than 40 countries. And so like I wanted to make a map for my business, and it's a world map. Um, and we're gonna publish it on a towel like we've done with other maps. And so I care a lot about the list of things on this map. I'm very particular about it, but I use ChatGPT to make sure I didn't miss anything on a continent level. So like ChatGPT, give me XYZ per continent, and that way you make sure that it's aggregated. That's what I mean by aggregating data. You can build
Yes,
these
yeah.
spreadsheets that make sure you hit everything and don't miss it. And then like, polishing emails and stuff that like maybe it doesn't matter how creative you were. Um, make this shorter, make this nicer, make this more friendly and things like that. I don't do it often, but if I'm like super tired and I need to like just get something done
Yeah.
quickly, I'll do it. And I encourage our employees to do it too, because using that will be an essential skill, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I really appreciate your response to that. I've learned from it, and that's my personal purpose for Real Words, and I can see how it has benefited you and will benefit businesses here in the past already, in the short past that we've had it already. But you can just feel it accelerating so quickly and becoming an essential part of business and work today. What's next for Zack Helminiak?
Um, well, we are spending a lot of time growing the business. So that is all consuming. We also, on a parenting level, we have another trip coming up to Europe where we're going to take our 7-month-old daughter for the first time. So we're always very excited to like kind of open up their worlds a little bit. My
Yes.
3-year-old's totally obsessed with airports and airplanes, and so that should be a really exciting um, trip for sure. I have the other book drafted. The next subject of the book will be a horse, and so I'm excited to share that. You'll get one of the first
Yes.
emails for sure.
Oh, please. I can't wait. I can't wait. And I really look forward to meeting you this weekend at which day will you be at the bookstore?
I will be there Saturday.
Okay.
So yeah, if anyone's listening and they want to
Yes,
stop by and say what's up, I would love that. Please do. I'll
that'd
be
be
there
great.
from noon to
Saturday the
3, I think.
20th. Yes. And I'm bringing a Sharpie because I want you to sign my board book. So
You got it. No
Zack,
problem.
before we get away, and my guest today has been Zack Helminiak. He is the CEO, co founder of Nomadix, as well as a children's book author, a newly minted children's book author. The book recently released is Truffle Cat. Do you have a favorite author that you follow or read?
Um, I have I like a lot of different styles of writing and types of books. I like a lot of historical nonfiction type books. One of my favorite books ever is The Great Game, um, which is about spies in Central Asia between Russia and the English in India going into the Himalayas. But if I was to recommend one book that I think is underappreciated, perhaps, or one series, I'm a big fantasy and sci-fi reader, and the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that or not.
I'm not. I'm
Uh,
so excited.
yeah, The Black Prism is book one. Do you read sci-fi or fantasy?
I rarely. It's a genre that I really want to get into. I've been the last few years definitely into business books, and so I'm ready now for some fiction again. So I will
Yeah,
definitely.
I won't bore everyone with the business books that I like. But yeah, so like there's a academy component to it. So if you're a Harry Potter fan, you might like
Yes.
that aspect, but it's darker and more intense and definitely more adult. There's magic. It's a very unique concept, and there's 5 books, and me and some of my close friends just mowed through them. We love them. So
Wow. Oh, good. I
yeah,
can't wait to check it
Lightbringer
out. And
series.
what's the Lightburner series in the first book is The Black Prism, correct?
The Black Prism, and it's called Lightbringer. Yeah.
Lightbringer series.
Hmm.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Zach. It's been such a pleasure to have you here on Real Words, and we look forward to seeing you on Saturday the 20th from 1 to or noon to 3 at Beachtown Books. We'll see you then.
Great. See you there.